Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to discuss how to crush the Stafford Gambit with the white pieces. Stafford Gambit is considered one of the dangerous gambit to be played from the black side, but today we are simply going to crush the Stafford Gambit with the white pieces simply. So I don't want to waste any further time. If you are still not a subscriber, make sure to subscribe the video, and now let's quickly jump into the video. So we are playing with the white pieces and we start the game with 1 e4. Our opponent plays e5, knight to f3, and here at the place of knight to c6, our opponent plays the move knight to f6. And here we capture the pawn on e5, and here black plays the move knight to c6. We capture the knight, pawn takes, and here white is a pawn up, and from here the Stafford Gambit begins. So after knight into c6, d into c6, white is having already many options in this position. And in this position, I'm going to recommend you guys to play the move d3. What's happening? We are simply defending the pawn on e4, which was attacked by the knight on f6. d3, black plays bishop c5, making sense, developing the bishop ideas with knight g4 attacking the f2 pawn. And here we play the move bishop to e2, trying to cover the knight to g4 idea. And after bishop e2, here black is having already two options to consider, which is h5 and knight to g4. If knight g4, we can simply capture the knight, and here it looks like black simply blended a piece, but here black is going to play the move queen to h4, attacking the f2 pawn as well as the bishop on g4. So here you must play the move simply queen f3, simply defending the pawn on f2, and here black is having two ways to capture the bishop. If queen takes, we can happily trade off the queen and can play the move f3, keeping the pawns at the light squares, and now simply king e2, bishop e3, takes, and you can just evaluate this position. White is a pawn up, putting the pawns at the light square. The position is completely winning for white. So going back, what happens if your opponent captures the bishop with the bishop? Here we are going to play the move queen g3, asking for a queen trade. If black trades off the queen in this position, we are already extremely happy in the position because we are already a pawn up. So going back, in this position, if your opponent plays queen h5, trying to keep the queens on the board, this time we can simply play the move f3, hitting the bishop and now simply capturing another pawn. So we are a 2 point ahead. So black obviously does a long castle, and it looks like maybe now black can start to do some crazy attack on the king side. But here simply queen to g5, and you won't believe it, black doesn't have any square for the queen to escape, and here we can simply capture the trade of the queen, and white is already completely winning this position with 2 pawns advantage. So this is exactly what happens if your opponent plays the move queen to h5. Now going back, this is exactly what happens if your opponent plays the move knight to g4. And now in this position, we are going to see what happens if your opponent plays the move h5 in the position, which makes sense. Black wants to play the move knight g4. We simply play the move c3 in this position, which is very interesting. Our idea is to play d4 in the future. So here I have taken 3 moves into consideration: knight g4, queen e7, and simply bishop to e6, developing the pieces. What happens if your opponent plays knight to g4? After knight g4, black's idea is to simply capture the f2 pawn. So here we are already going to push up pawn to d4, attacking the bishop. And after bishop d6, we are going to play the move knight to d2. The idea is pretty clear. We want to put our knight to f3. Like for example, black is having 2 moves. If queen h4, threatening mate in 1, we can simply play g3. If queen to f6, we can play knight f3, followed by e5. White is completely winning. Going back, if queen to h3, here we can simply play bishop f1, and the queen is trapped, and white is completely winning the game. So this is exactly what happens if your opponent plays queen h4. If bishop e6, simply developing the pieces, we put our knight to f3, queen to d7, and now simply h3, hitting this knight, and now simply knight g5. As we know that the bishop pair is a very powerful pair, so we are going to capture one of the bishop in the position. First bishop e3, because the bishop is not running anywhere, and now white's idea is pretty clear. White can capture the bishop in this position, followed by queen f4, long castle, and white is already very much better in the position. So this is exactly what happens if your opponent plays knight g4. If your opponent plays a move like queen e7, try to put pressure on the pawn on e4, not allowing you to push your pawn to d4 so easily, I would say just keep your pawn structure like this. Keep on developing your pieces. Knight e2, bishop e6, knight to f3. This type of maneuvering is very common in this particular structure. Knight to f3, long castle, and now simply play the move queen c2, moving the queen from this rook file, and there is no way black can even think of capturing the d3 pawn. So bishop b6, because I don't find any reasonable move in this position for black. So bishop b6, and now simply bishop g5. Developing the bishop, pinning up this knight, and after something like queen d7, trying to rid of this pin, simply a4, expanding on the queen side. You have noticed one thing, we are not castling. The reason we are not castling on either side because we want to keep the maximum flexibility on our hands. That's the reason queen d7. We play the move first, a4, expanding on the queen side, a5, and now already b4, trying to break on the queen side. And after something like knight g4, trying to put pressure on f2 pawn, simply d4. Takes, simply a5, kicking this bishop, and now simply getting an exchange, simply short castling, and now it's completely winning position for white. There is no way black can even think of attacking the king side, and white is completely winning. So this is exactly what happens if your opponent plays queen e7. Now coming to the main move, what happens after bishop e6, focusing on developing your pieces. After bishop e6, simply d4, attacking the bishop, kicking the bishop back, and now simply queen c2, defending the e4 pawn from the knight. Queen to d7, the idea is to simply long castle. We play the move knight d2. Again, the same idea of knight d2, knight f3. Short a long castle, knight to f3, king b8, and now simply knight to g5. And for example, if black tries to focus on the king side, we can simply play the move bishop d2. Again, he already developing your pieces, keeping the maximum flexibility. Knight to h7, because black wants to push the pawns on the king side, but this time simply capture the bishop, queen takes, and here you can already play the move f4. And now you are having a well established center on your hands. You can play the move e5, f5. You are having the bishop pair, and the position is already completely winning for white. So this is exactly how you can play this particular position, how you can simply crush the Stafford Gambit with the white pieces. We have covered each and every single line in particular detail. So it's extremely easy to crush the Stafford Gambit with the white pieces. So this is how you crush the Stafford Gambit. So if you guys like the video, then make sure to like the video, share this video to everyone who ever really wanna crush the Stafford Gambit with the white pieces. And if you are new to our channel, then make sure to subscribe to our channel and make sure to click the notification bell so that you will get updated whenever I would be posting new videos. So I'm going to see you soon. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess.